Hi, everyone. Welcome to Happy to See Me, the podcast that puts the spotlight on the overlooked and underestimated. I'm Erika Casupanan, and a lot of people know me as an underestimated Survivor winner. And today, I have the pleasure of speaking to another Survivor winner. I am speaking to the winner of Survivor Fiji Season 14, Earl Cole. But first, I usually start the episodes talking about something I was happy to see that week. And since this is my last episode before the holidays, I am giving myself the gift of saying two things that I was happy to see this week. Number one, this week I had dinner with my friend Taylor Lindsay Noel, and she ordered this private chef to come to her condo and cook dinner for the two of us and a third friend. And it was so cool to have this experience and to be able to try something new, something a bit luxurious, and really have a nice girls' night in. And part of the reason why I was so happy to see this, and part of the reason why it was so special, is because Taylor was actually a guest on my podcast. She was on episode 11, and that's how we met. So I interviewed her. We finished the interview, and we were both like, we're going to be friends. This is amazing. And it really made me reflect on starting the podcast this year and all of the gifts that have come as a result. One of the gifts is, of course, being able to connect with everybody who listens to the show. And thank you to everyone who listens. And also to be able to build these amazing relationships with guests. I would say the majority of people so far are guests that I have had some type of existing relationship with, but there are a few who I've been able to meet through the podcast and we've been able to become friends. Taylor is one example. And I don't know if you notice this when I podcast, but I honestly work so hard to research and I work so hard to come up with questions and to lead the conversation in a way where guests feel comfortable. Often because guests come on here and they share very vulnerable parts of their lives and their experiences. So I really put so much heart into the conversations that I have with people, and to have some of those conversations turn into real friendships like the one that I have with Taylor. It is the most rewarding and unexpected and amazing thing. So I am so happy to see all of the gifts that I've gotten as a result of starting this podcast this year. Okay, my second happy to see thing, and I will keep this quick. Speaking of podcasts, I got to be a guest on one of my favorite podcasts ever. I was a guest on Normal Gossip. So it is this comedy podcast where the host, Kelsey, shares a gossip story that has been anonymously submitted by a listener, and she just gets to tell the guests the story and they get to gossip as if they're pals. And I had so much fun being on this podcast. It never gets old when I am such a fan of something and then I get the opportunity to be part of it. I still fangirl all of the time. So if you have the chance, make sure you check out the episode of Normal Gossip, which I am on. And thank you so much to Kelsey, Alex, and the entire team for having me as a guest. All right, now on to this episode of this podcast. It is my pleasure to be speaking with Earl Cole. Many folks know Earl as the first unanimous winner of Survivor and the original king of Fiji and the first Survivor winner to win in Fiji. Earl is also this incredibly talented serial entrepreneur. So we talk about what it was like for him to be approached by a casting director on the street and then deciding to film Survivor, even though he had never watched it before and he needed to leave 2 days later. And then we talk about how winning Survivor changed his life, how taking a risk on Survivor helped him to build the resilience he needed to take risks as an entrepreneur. And then Earl is very generous with sharing some of his entrepreneurial wisdom with anybody who is looking forward to 2024 and they're on the fence about starting a business, a creative project, or maybe their reality TV application. I feel so blessed that I got to speak with Earl today. There are definitely some amazing pieces of wisdom in this conversation. So without further ado, this is Earl Cole. I hope you enjoy it. When you watch all of the seasons of Survivor in Fiji over the last few years, do you watch and you're like, been there, done that. I was the first one to do it.
Not in that tone, but yes, I am glad to see that it continues to be in Fiji. It's a wonderful place. wonderful people. I've been there several times since winning. So I have friends there. I know the community there. But I think it's great. And I'm glad Jeff decided to just have a home there and keep it consistent. I know a lot of fans complained at first, but it really is lovely there, as you know.
It's quite beautiful. It was the perfect place to go during the pandemic.
Mhm.
And I will still forever acknowledge that Earl Cole is the original king of Fiji.
Thank you.
Unless there's a real royal family. If there's a real Fijian royal family, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like take over.
I actually had a ceremony with one of the chiefs of the village there to, congratulate me and kind of embrace me into the community. So maybe I am part of the royal family now. I don't know. They do recognize me there though, which is crazy after all these years.
They still do. So people from your original visit 18 years ago.
I've tweeted a long time ago. I said I think there's some kind of bootleg DVD copy going around at Fiji of my season on how these younger people still recognize me. So it's great though.
Well, I also feel like people would just be drawn to you because you just light up any space that you're in, even across from each other in this this online video. You
Sure.
are sparkling. So that could be it too. You could just have celebrity energy.
Oh, well, keep it coming. Yes, I'll take it. Fine.
Well, I want to ask you about your story, your life before Survivor and how life has been since then. I know you've been working on so much entrepreneurial stuff, but I would love to start from the very beginning because I want to know, did you grow up around entrepreneurial people or business-minded people, or was this something you had to develop on your own?
Great question. I did not grow up around anything like that. I grew up originally as a single mom with my two sisters. I just saw a hardworking mother and hardworking sisters. And I guess maybe that planted the seed of wanting to do more in life. And as you mentioned earlier with the leg calvé-Perthes disease, you say Perthes disease for short, but I was diagnosed with that at the age of like 6. And what that does, it kind of limited my physical abilities to be able to play sports. So I was at home a lot, even missed school. So I was there reading a lot, doing music, learning different things at a very young age. So it just made me think about the world a certain way until I eventually grew out of it. But that, like I said, that seed was planted on how to creatively think beyond just your physical abilities, but how well you communicate, how to read people, how to be more intuitive, how to be more empathetic, have more emotional intelligence. All those things kind of like was my core growing up. And then I was able to apply it to other things in life. And that include like, business ventures and trying different things. I think I was one of the first kids, this is going to date myself, to have like an Apple IIc or something, which was...
I don't know what that is.
It's an old computer, one of the first Apple computers. And I was able to figure out how to make these computer characters. I used to do like Scooby-Doo and Garfield and Snoopy and all that. I used to sell it at school for 50 cents. Go figure that. That was kind of my first venture. It was selling these little computer printouts that I had made, and people would put them in their notebook. So that was the journey to this whole entrepreneurial venture I've been on ever since.
Very resourceful. Did you realize that you were having a business venture and that you could be making money? Or like, how did this idea even come about?
I don't know. I think you just start putting things together. It wasn't even for the money when you're a kid. You just want someone to like what you made. Like, look, I made this. Mm-hmm. And someone probably said like, oh, I'll give you $0.25 for that. And I'm like, you will? Oh, I'll take it. Then another person says like, hey, I want one of those printed out too. And I think that's just kind of how the whole thing started. And this is like probably 4th grade.
It started with 25 cents and then you realized the supply and demand. So you doubled the price and the customers were still buying.
Well, and I had customized versions that were actually a whole $1.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at that. See, you start with your one product, and then once you have determined that there is the demand for it, then you can expand the range of products.
That's right.
You've always been an entrepreneur.
That's how it works.
So once you, I guess, finished school and went into the real world, were you an entrepreneur right away, or did you work on other things first before you went into entrepreneurship?
I mean, I went to school and graduated and went to college and all those things and got a job like everybody else. That's kind of what you want to do. You'll have that stability, learn the ropes of the corporate world or whatever world you're in. Like I was lucky where my first job out of college, I worked for the Walt Disney Company. So I did a lot of fun things from day one, so I was working on stuff like Toy Story and Bugs Life and Pixar things and Pocahontas. I was working on all these fun things that I grew up with. But that was giving me my training of like how to deal with people in the office, how to put together a marketing plan or a campaign, and how to advertise to people, how to actually get the Disney magic. So I learned a lot from that first job, and then. In my mind, I always had things I was doing in the background because I always felt like the true path to wealth was going to always be ownership. So I wasn't going to own Disney, although I would try.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hostile takeover.
yeah, but I knew I had to own my brand or my ideas or whatever I was putting together in order to truly have the happiness for me. I mean, everyone's different, but for me, that was always just inside of me.
And then what was your first real foray into entrepreneurship?
My first,
Aside from the stickers.
In college, I actually, because I was always very creative and artistic, so I actually used to airbrush jeans and jean jackets. That was like popular in the 90s. So I used to do all of that and charge a little more money then. So I think then I was charging like $40 to do like customized jeans and jackets. So I would make all these characters and cool colors. But my first real venture was pretty early on after I was working at Disney. I started understanding how Hollywood worked and the media, and I started my own production company. Didn't know a lot on what to do, but I knew I understood scripts and storytelling and things like that. But I was like, oh, wait, you need money for this? I didn't know I need money to actually run the company. I just thought my ideas would just be strong enough, but it doesn't work like that. So inevitably, the company did not work out because we didn't have any money to keep the whole thing going. So that was kind of my first venture, but you learn. So it's not really a failure. It's like a learning lesson. It's like, okay, I need to do this and that for my next thing. So, and I had like probably 6 other companies after that. So I am where I am now.
I love that you're able to just keep going and going with the trial and error of it all. How do you decide to keep going after, for example, with this production company, you try it, you realize, okay, missed something here. This one didn't work out. Let me try something else. You learn something from there. How do you keep going? Because I think someone could easily get down on themselves with that type of work.
Great question. I mean, I think it's just whatever kind of tenacity you have or what kind of resilience you have. And a lot of times that resiliency can come from a traumatic childhood or something that happened when you were younger, or maybe you grew up with not that much money and you saw your parents struggling. So you have this will to really succeed, or it could be you were inspired by someone else successful. So I think for me, I just learned that, if it wasn't something great to have, it wouldn't be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. Anything worth having is going to take some work. It's going to be hard, and there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be valleys, and there's going to be peaks, and there's going to be all kinds of things. It's a roller coaster, like Survivor, a roller coaster.
Yeah, and it seems like everything has a level of risk to it too. But if there's no risk to something, then is it even worth having?
Yeah, I mean, sure, it'd be great to have everything easy, but what's
Mm-hmm.
the fun in that?
Well, speaking of Survivor and speaking of taking risks, I had read that you were recruited. So you were out for lunch. A casting director came up to you, asked you if you're interested in, was it The Amazing Race at the time?
Exactly. So I was on a date um, with my now wife, who's in the other room. It was so interesting. One of the casting directors for Amazing Race and Survivor, who people know, Lynn Spillman, saw us at a restaurant in Santa Monica, California, where I just moved there. And I believe she saw my wife first. It was very striking when you see her. And
Hmm.
then here's this other guy tailing behind. And, she asked us, were we dating? We said, oh, we're just sort of dating, hanging out. And then said, would you guys want to be on The Amazing Race as a couple? And she immediately said, no. No, my wife's a pharmacist, so she has a lot of patients. She's very busy, and that's just not her thing to do that. So the answer was no, and we just went on about our dinner. But a couple of weeks later, that's when Lynn called me and said someone dropped out of Survivor. Would you be interested in that? And I was like, Survivor? I said, you mean the show that's on an island, like something like that? I'd never watched it, didn't know anything about it besides I knew it was on an island. And I think everybody kind of saw the first season. I didn't even see that season.
Hmm.
But it sounded like an adventure. And so I said, sure, I'll try it. And then she'd be like, you leave in 3 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When she came up to you, was it your first date?
This was I think it was our third or fourth date. Yeah.
Okay, so no wonder your now wife said no, because it's like, I'm not ready to commit to that, okay?
See,
We are early in
See, I
this.
never even thought about that. Let me ask her, is that what you were thinking? Like, I want to
Yeah.
go around the world. This guy, I don't even know him yet.
Yeah, she's still on the fence about you,
Yeah.
so we're not ready for that one yet. So thinking back to that moment when Lynn first approached you, do you think back and could you feel anything in your gut around how this could potentially be something? Or were you just like, whatever, keep going?
It's LA. So it's
Hmm.
not absurd to think that something like this could actually happen. So it seemed legitimate. I mean, we were at a nice restaurant and she pretty much kind of knew everything. She kind of pitched me the whole thing. And I thought it was cool. I always thought that maybe one day I'll be on TV for something. I didn't know what it would
Hmm.
be. I never thought in a million years it would be Survivor. But that
Hmm.
happened, and I went through the whole process. Where I know a lot of people go through interviews and something. I think because I'm sorry, I did not go through what everyone else like being a big fan. Sending in your application, you go through the whole process. I didn't go through that. I actually had to do everything in one day, like all the
Hmm.
testing, all the psych testing, all interviewing the topic with the top execs at CBS. I did all in one day. And then I finally got the stamp of approval from the number 2 guy at CBS. And then I was just gone. I think that was a Friday and I was gone on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, saying yes to a show you have never watched and agreeing to fly out 2 days later, it's pretty crazy.
That's part of being an entrepreneur, that uncertainty, that willing to take risk. Like, this could be a nice business opportunity. Like, what if I actually win? That would be great money to do certain things. So you just never know. I mean, I went on the show not knowing anything about it. I didn't have a strategy, but I knew I understood people. I knew that. I knew social environments. I got that. And that was I was armed with that and I was listening and observing type of thing.
So when you said yes to it, you had your entrepreneurial mindset on where you're like, this is a risk, this is exposure, this could lead to something.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. I mean, it was that thing that was already ingrained in me. I probably didn't categorize as a entrepreneur mindset, but it was just me on who I am as a person. And at that point, I didn't have any kids. I was single. Like, all right, so I could just jet off like that. Now, oh gosh, I would have to put in a lot of paperwork with my kids and wife, like, care if I leave for 2 months? Because it was literally like almost 2 months I was gone.
Hmm. It's a big commitment, and then it's hard because you can't really explain to anybody. I guess you could tell your wife and your kids, but yeah, you can't explain to a lot of people, and especially now because you're responsible for so many businesses.
Yeah.
It's a weird absence to have to explain.
Well, I was an advertising executive at the time, and I was working on a big campaign for Honda right in the middle of it. And my supervisor, when I said like, "Hey, I got asked to be on this show," she told me no. We're in the middle of something.
Oh.
So I went to the CEO and asked, "What did he think?" And he said, "Go do it. I think it's a chance of a lifetime. But if you do it, just make sure you win." That
Okay,
was
so that's why you
yeah.
won. If he didn't say that, you wouldn't have won.
Oh,
You'd be like,
yeah.
I'm good with placing anywhere.
So that was great. It was nice of them to actually give me a leave of absence. I didn't have to quit or anything. They actually let me leave to do it and come back to work.
So this risk-taking mindset helped you to be open to this experience. On the flip side, did your survivor experience help you in terms of your entrepreneurial mindset? Did you learn anything about taking risks after you got back?
I think I was always going to be a risk taker, but what I took from Survivor, what I tell people, it made meetings a lot easier. When
The
you're
small talk.
when you're Earl Cole, the Survivor winner, hey, I want to have a meeting with so and so. Oh, then they're more apt to let you have that meeting, or they'll answer your email or something like that. So it definitely helped in that matter for sure. But I stayed being me. My life didn't really change much as far as I was in my 30s, so I was already who I am as a person. I wasn't looking for any validity from anyone. I wasn't looking for anything like that. I didn't need a whole lot of friends. I already had my friends. I was already happy. So this was just something extra to do that I loved it. It was fun. I loved the fans. I loved meeting everybody. You learn a lot about yourself and who you are as a person, how you deal with people. So all that. So it just worked out.
I relate to so much of that as well. So many people ask me, like, people must be banging on your door with all these opportunities after you won Survivor. And there are certainly opportunities that come to you. But what I always say to people is, oh, no. I'm still knocking on other people's door. And now that I can say I'm a Survivor winner, they're willing to open the door a bit and see what I have to say. But it's still up to me to try to get that door open.
And they won't open it all the way. It kind of looks
no
to see
yeah.
first. Like they're still like, who are you again? Because it's different. Like winning Survivor and you live in LA, it's a lot different from living somewhere else. Because here there are truly famous people here, like famous people. So Survivor and a reality show is like way down there on the list compared to like A-list, B-list actors that are here walking around with paparazzis and things like that. So, because I remember my friends who say like, hey, this is Earl Cole, he won Survivor. Shouldn't you guys let him go to front of the line? They're like, who? What show? Oh, is that show still on?
Yeah.
It was a lot of that to happen. And now,
oh yeah, I get that too. Yeah.
Yeah, is the show still on? Like now we're what, season 45, 6?
5, yeah.
So just think about, I think you were 41?
Yes.
41. So just think, I was 14. And so things were
flipped. It was flipped.
Yeah. See, look, we're Gemini twins.
Yeah.
So things were a lot different back then because the show was a lot bigger. So you did get some fame with it. Like, CBS really flew us to different places, and, people recognize you a certain way. You go on these big talk shows. I know they don't do that as much now, but back then, we didn't have Instagram. So I couldn't get 100,000 followers. We did have MySpace. I could say
great.
I had about 20,000 followers on MySpace, and then all of it was gone. And then Facebook kind of took over, and then Twitter started later. So it was just interesting that, and now they let you all talk about the show. Before, we could not even talk about it at all.
Oh, even once the show was done airing, you couldn't
Only
talk about
once it aired, we could talk about it a little bit. But everything was very controlled then. And, it was like 6 months that I couldn't even say anything to anyone. Like, I know I did the show, but I didn't know if I won or not. So that's the crazy thing. So I had to go back to work, and everybody's like, so how'd the show go? Like, I just watch it.
So they knew you were on the show, though?
My boss knew. So, and then once it aired, everybody said, oh, okay, there you are. When do you get voted out? When does that happen? I just keep watching. Week after week, I kept saying that. Just watch it.
Yeah. They're just like, we just see that you're really skinny.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's happening, but okay, cool. We're back to the Honda campaign.
Yep. That's how it was.
So you said that the show didn't drastically change your life, but I know from experience, once you win a show like this, one of the main questions you always get is, how did winning Survivor change your life? So then how would you answer that question back in the day?
I mean, of course, the money is great.
Mm-hmm.
Living in California, you don't get as much. There's a lot of taxes out here. But it did, RIP to my CEO who gave me his blessing to actually do the show. Once it was announced that I won, I quit the next day.
Oh, amazing.
Once that check was in the bank, I was like, okay, guys, this is my last day. And they was like, oh, because I had all these opportunities to do all these other things, like as to host certain shows and do this. And then you start to realize, I'm sure you might have as well, you start doing these little talk shows and you get the check. And you're like, wow, I just got paid that just to go on there for 15 minutes. Say, okay, maybe I need to do this acting thing. I never wanted.
We did not have that, okay? That was a back in the day thing. We did not get paid for any of that stuff. No.
It's not like that anymore.
No.
There was a lot of different things that I would do, and I would get paid for them. And I thought, like, wow, this is easy money. But there is a window for all of this. I tell every winner, like, it'll last for a while, but just be prepared for it to taper off and not as much is going to happen. Not many people are going to be knocking on your door as much. So find something you really want to do. Do it now and maintain that. Like what you're doing. Like you're doing a podcast, do it now. Build up that audience now. Because, 5 seasons from now, oh, you mean Erika from way back then? Survivor? Yeah.
I know, right? It's like, wait, that show's still on?
Yep, season 50. Yes. It's still on.
God. Okay, so now that it's been 18 years since you've won, how do you think Survivor has changed your life?
It did, I'll say it did give me the freedom to do certain things. I was actually able to retire for like 10 years from it.
Wow.
It's all about how you move your money around and what you invest in, including investing in Survivor. So I tell people, like, put some money in CBS. You can really Survivor a different kind of way. But for me, I kept the same car. I didn't buy anything fancy, nothing like that. But what I did is invest in experiences. So I started traveling the world quite a bit. So I was going everywhere all the time because I didn't have to go to work. And so I've been to over 50 countries now, including the Philippines. Because when I saw you won, yeah, I definitely went to the Philippines. Huge Survivor community there. Huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They love Survivor in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah. I was the first winner to ever go to the Philippines. And so they had a huge party for me while I was there. You didn't know this story?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was in Manila. Is it yeah.
Yeah, Manila. That's where I was born.
This big karaoke event for me. They rented out this space. And I was singing Filipino songs. There's a video somewhere out there of me singing some Filipino songs and them having this big party. And we just talked about Survivor and they were just super happy. It was so fun. Can't wait to go back. Oh my God. I'm sure they'll see this podcast.
I know. I haven't been back to the Philippines since I was born, which I know everyone thinks is the biggest crime. And I always get invites to go back, but who knows? Maybe next year is the year I finally go back.
It's beautiful. It's really nice. Everyone is very kind. I had a great time there. So it's fun. You have to go. God. That's a shame.
I know. If I go to the Philippines, if there's any people from the Philippines listening, can you please get me a karaoke party too? And I will sing in Tagalog?
Yep.
Not well, but I'll do it.
And I might show up for that. You have that. You go there, I might show up. I'm always
oh my God.
Because I go to Australia every year and I usually stop. Now I will go to the Philippines, but I stop in Fiji now. Say, what's up, my people? So I go there a little bit. So, yeah. Let me know if you go.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. The what is it? The royalty of Fiji has to make his rounds somewhere.
Well, I guess you're the princess of the Philippines now.
I'll take it. I will take a tiara. Okay, folks? I'll send you my head size. I don't know if there's a head size.
That's great.
So you've done more TV since Survivor. You've done Snake in the Grass. You've done Shark Tank. You've also been part of other competitions as well. So you recently won the NASA Startup Competition, and your latest venture is one of Time's best inventions of 2023. So you have experienced big wins, and at the same time, you've experienced losses on TV and in the press. So what is it like being able to watch yourself experience both sides of the coin?
It's always interesting. It makes it fun. I like trying different things, and I'll say the funny thing about the snake in the grass thing, it was so random. Me,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it. They wouldn't even tell me what the show was. I just
Mhm.
knew. I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do something that's different from Survivor." They said it's this new adventure show. I think I was in Hawaii at the time, and I literally flew back from for one day, and then flew to Costa Rica where they were shooting it. I didn't know what the show was at all. And then when I get there, who's there? Other people from Survivor. I was like, I thought I was trying to do something outside of Survivor. But it was one of those shows. I don't think they had it all figured out just yet. Um, a lot of people don't know it. A lot of things was very edited, and how it looked, it actually did not happen that way. But I won't even get into all of that. But I was really happy on who won. It's like, young guy, go start your life, use this money. Me and Yule were on there. I said, we're old school veterans, winners of Survivor.
Mhm.
So that was cool to do that adventure. Shark Tank thing, I did not apply for that either. So they actually invited me to be on there more than once. And I just started the company, and I kept telling them no. And then they said, oh, just do it. It'd be great exposure. And I said, okay, we'll do it. But we're going to have a crazy ask when we go on there. So, and we made it fun. I think Kevin Hart was one of the guest sharks for that, but it was
Mhm.
during the pandemic. And so everyone was far away from us, and they were all spaced out. So it was a really different kind of experience. But we didn't expect to get any investments from that. So all those people that was trying to scrutinize us, we didn't even care about that. We already had money. We had already raised money. We were there for the exposure, and it worked out. It was 4 million viewers, and that led to more money for us. So see,
So when you made this crazy ask, because I watched the clip, I was like, okay, this is a wild ask. You made that ask knowing no one's going to bite and it's fine. And we're not even here to get the bite.
yep, totally did not expect. I said, if someone gives us that deal, great, we'll take it. But we were literally there just for the exposure itself, and we're the type of company, the vision that we have and what we're creating doesn't even fit Shark Tank. It's usually like,
Mhm.
small little moms and pop sort of things on there, some little gadget thing like that. I think there were some chopstick guys on there. They had some kind of new chopsticks. They got an investment on there, and we didn't.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
we're thinking like multi-billion-dollar change the world industry type of thing, compared to like just selling a few T-shirts or a new snack box or something like that. So
Mhm.
it just wasn't the best fit.
Yeah. You just needed the opportunity to dress as an astronaut on TV, is what I'm getting from
See, the
it.
secret's out. That was my dream. So I got to wear an astronaut suit and look really cool. So it was great. It was
Yeah, they unfortunately won't let you wear an astronaut suit on Survivor, so you had to take matters into your own hands.
exactly, and it worked out. And so I'm happy that we did that show. It was another notch in my belt. I think I was the one of the first winners to ever be on. I think I'm the only winner ever been on Shark Tank, because I know another person from Survivor had done Shark Tank.
Can you tell people a bit about the Smart Tire company? I know we've been talking so much about Shark Tank, but just so the listeners are aware of your latest venture.
My latest venture, I'm partnered with NASA, and we are licensing their technology, and we have our own patents on top of that. So we are creating the world's first airless tire made out of shape memory alloys, which is this crazy kind of flexible metal that kind of works like rubber. So just think of all the flats and all the tire maintenance that you have for your bicycles and cars and airplanes and all that. We're putting it into all that. So it's a smart tire company. Smart actually stands for Shape Memory Alloy Radio Technology for a lot of people. NASA likes to use a lot of acronyms. And so we took it upon ourselves to actually name the company after an acronym and make it as simple as possible, the Smart Tire Company. And so we will be launching the product next year. So we already have pre-orders for our airless bicycle tire. And then you'll see scooter tires. We're working on a car tire. You're going to see racing tires. So a lot of people who might follow you might see me at Formula One or you might see me at NASA. You never know. But our end goal is we're part of the Artemis project with NASA, and that is our return to the moon with astronauts. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out. We will be designing the tires for the rovers that will carry the astronauts around on the moon. So that's my goal, the moon.
Yeah. Okay. Reinventing the wheel. And also, you're going to, so first survivor winner on Shark Tank. And now you're going for first survivor winner on the moon.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me be number 2 then. And in terms of price point, how does this compare to the stickers you were selling when you were a kid?
Much different.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Not a quarter.
25 cents, 50 cents, we can sell a tire, for $100,000 a tire for space
Wow.
work. But, this will be comparable to your normal premium tire that you have now. A lot of people, you don't think about tires, but if they're living on everything around you, like everything has tires, strollers, wheelchairs, bicycles, cars, trucks, airplanes. So that $300 billion market, we are trying to be a part of that, which we will. So that consumes my everyday life is working on this.
Oh yeah, you'll take over. First, I think you're going to take over tires, and then you're going to go back and take over Disney.
Yeah,
and then you're going to go to the moon.
Let's do it. I like the way you think. You got to think big.
Yeah. Why limit ourselves to what we've seen before? Let's just break everything and make everything way better. So since it's December, it's usually a time when people reflect on the year and then think about, what happens next. And I would love to get some insight and wisdom from you as somebody who has worked as an entrepreneur, has taken a lot of risks, just in case there's anybody listening who might be thinking of starting their own ventures or going out and trying something new. So first, I want to know, as a serial entrepreneur, how do you decide which ideas you want to pursue?
How I pick with ideas, I have to see the connection. I have different ideas all the time. I've always been that way. But I want to see what is the easiest to get started with. Because some ventures, you need a whole lot of money just to even get in that pool. But how strong is the idea, and is it solving a problem? My main thing is, I tell people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, don't chase the money. Chase the problem and trying to find a solution to that. The money will come if you accomplish that goal of solving it, but don't just try to start a business because I want to make some money. Like, no, that's the wrong mindset. It truly is, are you providing something that people want? Is it something that people need? Are you solving a certain problem? So when you have that kind of mindset, it's kind of easier to put things together. And it might not work out, but at least you're coming from a place of passion, of solving something, and go from there. And always do your homework. I mentor a lot of college students. Like, do your research. Don't ever think that your idea is the only idea. There's somebody else across the world that probably already has that same idea. And so always know that there might be competition. So go do all your research. Don't ever think it's just, this is a great idea. Nobody then you look it up and like, oh man, they're already selling this on Amazon. Like, yeah, you just wasted 3 months of something that was already existed. So always do your research.
Amazing. And when people get started, often one of the hardest parts of getting started is how there's so much uncertainty. And even in entrepreneurship and in business, even if you do all your homework, there is a level of uncertainty. So when you are dealing with uncertainty, where do you find the certainty?
You find the certainty and competence. So the more information and knowledge you get, that's why I keep talking about the research part. The more information you get, the more you start to understand the market, you can approach it differently. When you don't have a clue, sometimes it's very intimidating. When you're in a field you're not familiar, like, I didn't know tires. I mean, that was never my goal. But you better believe I read every book and read every article once I had an opportunity to get in tires, to get the confidence to be in those rooms with people that knew a lot about engineering. I'm working with rocket scientists and material scientists. So it's just getting the competence and the aptitude and to understand things you can tackle that uncertainty a certain way. Now, it's still going to be a lot of uncertain things that happen, a lot of variables you cannot control, but that's part of the bravery of being an entrepreneur. You just have to go do it. What separates entrepreneurs from other people is they just start. That's just the key. Just start. Because a lot of people will keep on talking themselves out of starting something. Like, oh, I got to do work. Oh, I'm too tired. I got to do that. It's like, just start and go from there.
As I connect the dots, it's kind of wild thinking about the job that you had right before Survivor when you are working in advertising, working on the Honda account, and now you're working on tires. So it is kind of crazy how things do circle back, and something that you probably thought you weren't going to touch anymore after you won Survivor. Now that industry is back, so you never know.
Yeah, I mean, everything is kind of connected like that in your life. You're going to always, some kind of way, navigate towards things you're familiar with. Whether that is all the things I've learned since a child, I use now. I pour it all into my company, whether it's, designing the marketing, designing the logo, doing this. Like I put it all together, working with Honda. What did I learn from that? What kind of campaigns did I do before? What did I learn from Survivor? How do people work? What is it like to be, psychologically tortured on an island? Exile Island, because I know you went to Exile Island, right?
Yes.
I went 4 times on Exile.
Oh my God. Okay, I thought my 2 nights one time was like traumatic enough, but 4 times is a lot.
4 times, and I think that was only the second time they ever did Exile Island. It was a lot harder then. And I know a lot of old school people say, oh, it's harder. Like, it was harder, but, it was different too. I think it's a little more fast-paced now, which I like. Like, I like to go fast. Let's get it going. And it makes for fun TV because people make more mistakes when you're going fast. Because
there was not as much downtime as people would think when I went and filmed.
Yeah, we had a ton of downtime. So there was a point I stayed up for like 4 nights straight. I thought about every scenario possible on how to win. Like, it was like Earl, like every possible path. And I just kind of went that way.
Well, speaking of time, I have seen you answer the question. Somebody once asked you, what do you do in your free time? And your response is, time is not free. So what's your philosophy when it comes to time?
Well, time, it's something that's inevitable, obviously. But it's something that always going to have a cost, whether you spend time. So spending is related to, it's going to cost you something, whether you do something that's meaningful or wasteful. There's some kind of cost to your time. Even sitting around watching TV is costing something. So I think everybody should just, whoever always says it, that, live the life to your fullest. Like, yes, of course, do that. That's obvious, but what is your fullest? Like, do you even know what your fullest is? Like, just keep going. Just do as much as you can in your life as possible. Take chances, risk, all of that, because our time here on this planet is very short, contrary to what we all believe. So, hug your mom, say you love your dad, ask that girl to marry you, have fun with your best friend, start that business. It might fail, start that next business. Just keep trying. Just keep doing something that you enjoy. Just be your best self, I'll say. And then your time here will be well worth it, because that's one of the biggest things that a lot of older people complain about, or they regret when they're like in the 80s. Like, they wish they would have used their time a bit better. So that's why I say it's not free, so use it. It's a gift, but it still has a cost. So use it wisely.
Oh, that's very wise of you to share. You know what? My friend introduced me to this concept of how some years are a question year and some years are an answer year. So when you think back to 2023, was this a question year or an answer year for you?
I think it's always both for me, because I have 2 young kids. So I'm learning, doing a lot of things on being a parent now. So there's a question every day. Why does she do that? Why is she doing all of these things? And it's funny, when kids start to manipulate at a very young age, you're like, wow, like, you're smart, but you're in trouble,
Yeah.
So I have the question here, but it's answered here as well, because, a lot of things I did the year before, I'm getting the answers to it. I put the work in. So
Yeah.
that's okay. Now I'm seeing it come to fruition. And then I got to prepare for the next year. So all of these things, but at the same time, it can't just be work, work, work. You have to pick your spots of enjoying your life and living your life and not just working. That's why I did this podcast. I normally don't even do a podcast. I don't even do anything.
Thank you, Earl.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, it means so much that you're willing to have this conversation with me, honestly.
Of course. No, I think you are a great person and a great winner, and you asked and you're very persistent about it. And then you can say no to that face. Come on.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, you have to just keep asking, right? Until it's like a definite hard no and the door is closed.
Yep.
You have to just keep asking because you never know. You never know when someone is willing to look through the peephole at you.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. So
Yes.
I know one of your biggest dreams was to go on Survivor. Now, can you confidently say you knew you were going to win?
So I can say okay. I think that I, for some reason, feel the need to always have a level of humility.
Mhm.
So I went in and I was like, let me be realistic. Everybody here wants to win. There's 17 other people. They want to win. It's not going to be easy, but I knew in my gut that I had everything that it took to win.
Yep.
So I would say the win wasn't, in my mind, I'm like, okay, the win is not guaranteed, but I have everything I need to win. So I'm just going to go for it.
And a lot of people don't feel like that. They don't feel they have what it takes to actually win, and that's how you end up making the mistakes. So I think that confidence, and of course, be humble and have some humility with it, but also, flex your muscles. It's okay.
Yeah.
You came in there equipped. You knew who you were as a person, because I said a lot of people don't know who they are when they even go on there. They're kind of discovering how they are. But when you already have that mindset, like, okay, I know people are probably going to underestimate me because I've dealt with that my whole life. So I'm going to use that to my advantage to do this, this, and this. Because that's what I had to do. Even when I started to understand the game, I had to pretend like I did not understand the game. So they would take me for granted. And I knew looking very athletic, I said, okay, that's the way they can vote me out. So let me not be as athletic. Sacrifice that ego for the end goal, which is to win.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. How old were you when you played?
34.
Okay, that's how old I am now. I was 31 when I played. And you had mentioned this earlier, but there really is something to being in your 30s and being a fully formed person. And this is no disrespect to anybody who plays in their 20s or who won in their 20s. If you won at any age, you totally deserve to win. But I feel like you are proof that knowing the game takes you so far. It's really about knowing yourself and knowing your strengths and your quote unquote weaknesses and how to work through them. That's what sets you up to win.
I 100% agree. And that's why you won. So thank you for all of this. This has been great because I think, were we running out of time here? Or are we good?
We are, yeah.
Okay.
No, we're running out. But wait, do you have another one? Do you have any more wisdom to impart?
Oh, you have another really good question? No, you've been asking great questions, so it's been great. You can ask.
Oh, I mean, let me ask you. I have another question. Okay, so again, thinking back to the people who are looking forward to next year, maybe 2024 is the year for them to start something. What do you think is the key to an entrepreneurial mindset?
The key to it, again, is that courage and bravery. A lot of people want to say they're an entrepreneur, but they're not. I think people feel cool saying, like, I have my own business. Like, I have a website and I have a business card. And I tell students it takes more than that. Having a cool website and a business card, like, you actually have to have an actual business. So I go back to that same thing. Do your homework, do the research, but just do it. Like, don't do it to think it's cool. Do it because you want to solve a problem, and you just have to start. Step one, and it's okay if you fail. Like I say, failure is just a lesson. You just learn something. But I've done 7 businesses. And same thing with the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musk and the Jeff Bezos. You only hear about the big win. You don't hear about the other 9 companies they had before that did not work out. So I tell people just stick with it. But just start. So in 2024, if you've been thinking about like, oh, I have this idea for this, or people always say I'm good at this and I should try it, do it. Just do it. Try it. Go for it. And if you have trouble, ask me. You can email me, find me if you want to ask me a question on how to do something or how do I get started. I love to motivate people to try to do something on their own. So
there you go. If you are on the track and you have failed, that means that you are on the right track.
Exactly.
That means that you are normal.
Yeah, exactly. It's normal. No one hits it out the park that first time around. They might market it that way, but they didn't. You have to learn and shape what it's going to actually be. So that's it.
100%. That's amazing wisdom to end off on. Earl, thank you so much for responding to my persistent messages and for being part of the show. I'm so glad we got to connect today.
Thank you.
If people want to keep up with you and any of the work you're doing, where can they follow you?
I'm not on the social media as much as I probably should be because I'm just have kids and all that and businesses. But Instagram, follow my company, the Smart Tire Company. Always connect with me on LinkedIn. I do more things on LinkedIn than I do on Instagram, Facebook, and I guess it's called X now. LinkedIn, I'm more at this stage of my life. Like, Survivor, I do Survivor parties. I did all those. I did all the things that are related to the media and entertainment with Survivor. But now I'm at a stage where it's like, okay, I can do more for people in business right now. So connect with me on LinkedIn and then we can talk and you can actually see, I'll even break down how I do certain things and who inspires me. So if I can help the next person, get started on something, I will. Even if I can inspire you to do Survivor, I will do that as well. I think everybody should try it if the opportunity is there.
There you go. Earl, thank you so much. And I guess I'll see you when we do a karaoke duet in the Philippines.
I can't wait. I'm telling you, there's footage out there somewhere he's singing.
Come on. After hearing that, it is so obvious why Earl won Survivor back in the day and why he can continue to find success as an entrepreneur today. He is warm. He is smart. I am so thankful to Earl for being generous with your time and speaking with me today. Now, I normally end the episode by answering a listener question, but again, since it's the last episode before the holidays, I'm going to answer my own question. So I'm going to answer the same question that I asked Earl. If some years are a question year and some years are an answer year, what type of year was this for me? For a while, I would have thought that this was a question year, but now that we have reached mid-December, I have no doubt that this is an answer year for me. I mean, on a professional, quote unquote, public level, there have been things that I've done where I realized I could do it. Starting this podcast and realizing that I can create a podcast and people would actually listen. That was an answer for me. I could do another reality show and purely have fun. That was an answer. And even opportunities I've had this year to tell my story. I had the chance to write an essay about my time on Survivor, and it got published in the Globe and Mail, which is this prestigious newspaper in Canada. I had a friend write a profile about my Survivor experience for Chatelaine, which is this lifestyle magazine in Canada. I've had other opportunities to tell my story from my perspective. And the answer I got was, people are interested in what I have to say and in my perspective, and they're willing to give me a platform to tell my story. So that was an answer. So yes, professionally, there are still questions, but I got so many answers. And on a personal level, I got so many answers to things too. I feel like I only talk about my life personally a little bit, still trying to figure out what's the right boundary with sharing personal details about my life on the podcast and on social media, to be honest. That remains a question for 2024. But I had so many answers this year around knowing that I could make decisions about relationships, and if they need to come to an end, that's okay. I can surround my people who make me feel safe and make me happy, and I don't have to by obligation, surround myself with people who don't make me feel that way. I could move into a new place and I don't have to rely on some big life change or having a partner to make a change that really changed my life for the better. I also made personal discoveries about myself. I realized that I could allow myself to think thoughts that I previously thought I needed to swat away, or thought that they weren't strong enough, or I thought they were just something passing and something fleeting. And I realized that I can take risks and I could put myself out there and I could do things that might leave me falling flat on my face, but I know that I could survive, haha, pun intended, no matter what would happen. So when I look back to all of these discoveries, there's no doubt that I've received so many amazing answers this year. But that being said, still a lot of questions for 2024, so we are going to keep on growing. Now, this is the last podcast episode for this year, but I will be back in early January. I already have the guests lined up for the January episodes, and I am so excited to share their stories with you. So, until then, I hope that everybody has a safe and fun holidays with your family, with your chosen families, with your friends, and anybody who you spend the next few weeks with. I hope it makes all of your dreams come true in whatever way fits for you. Until then, I will see you soon. And I guess I'm not happy to see you next Monday. How about this? I will be happy to see you in the new year.